Peng Sun's story is a heartbreaking tragedy that began with hope and ended in unimaginable sorrow. Born in Beijing in 1993, Peng grew up in a loving household. His father, a successful construction entrepreneur, and his mother nurtured him with the expectation that he would one day inherit the family business. In 2008, when Peng was just 15, his father sent him to Vancouver, Canada, to continue his education, believing the city offered safety and opportunity. His mother accompanied him for several years, even driving a white Bentley around town, a car Peng would later use himself. Unlike many children of wealthy families studying abroad, Peng was modest, courteous, and practical. He kept to himself, avoided arrogance, and planned to return to Beijing after graduation to take over his father's company. In 2013, Peng moved with his girlfriend Yang Qingqing to Coquitlam, near Vancouver. Not long after, a new neighbor appeared, a young man named Tianyi Eddie Jang. Born in 1992 in Shaanxi, Eddie was brash, charismatic, and very different from Peng. While Peng lived quietly, Eddie flaunted luxury cars, dropped hints about powerful connections, and often spoke about business dealings on the phone as though he were already a wealthy mogul. Eddie's mother and younger brother lived with him in Canada, while his father remained in China. Rumors swirled about his background. Some believed he was the son of a government official or coal company executive. He carried himself with the confidence of someone from a powerful family. To Peng, who shared a passion for cars, Eddie initially seemed like a friend. But the friendship soured when Eddie revealed he ran an underground gambling ring and even offered Peng a job in it. Peng declined, distanced himself, and eventually cut ties. By the summer of 2015, Peng thought he had left Eddie behind. But a chance encounter reignited the connection. Eddie claimed he had just married and later told Peng that his wife had given birth to a baby. On September 27, 2015, Eddie insisted Peng come to a celebration party. At first, Peng refused. His girlfriend wasn't feeling well, but Eddie pressed hard, even offering to send a driver and promising gifts for all the guests. Feeling guilty about turning him down so many times, Peng finally agreed to attend. He bought a gift, got into his white Bentley, and drove to the address Eddie provided. What he didn't know was that the house belonged to Eddie's uncle, stood empty, and that no baby had yet been born. Eddie's wife was still pregnant. The party was a trap. When Peng stepped into the house, Eddie greeted him warmly and led him downstairs. But in the basement, two men ambushed him. They handcuffed him, bound his legs with plastic ties, and threatened him with a taser. They forced him to unlock his phone. Hours later, at 8:30 p.m., Peng's father in Beijing received a chilling call. His son's voice cried, "Dad, I've been kidnapped. They have a gun to my head." A second voice, calm and cold, demanded 2.5 million Canadian dollars. Terrified, Mr. Sun stalled for time. He contacted Beijing police, who in turn reached Vancouver authorities. Over the next few hours, he wired 1.7 million RMB, about 340,000 Canadian dollars, into a Chinese bank account. But the kidnappers weren't satisfied. They threatened to mutilate Peng if more money wasn't paid. When Mr. Sun asked to hear his son's voice again, he realized something was wrong. The voice on the line wasn't Peng's. He demanded proof, but the caller evaded his questions with philosophical talk about morality and principles. Mr. Sun, suspicious and heartbroken, refused to send any more money. Meanwhile, Peng was already dead. Within hours of his abduction, he had suffocated, a zap strap cinched around his neck. The young man who was supposed to return home the next year and carry on his family's legacy died alone in that basement. His captors stripped him down, bound him, and wrapped his body in duct tape and tarp. Yet his father still clung to hope, believing negotiations might save his son. The turning point came when Peng's girlfriend Yang heard a recording of the ransom calls. She recognized the kidnapper's voice immediately. It was Eddie Jang. Armed with this knowledge, police tracked Eddie's phone and began surveillance. They discovered him and his accomplices preparing to dispose of Peng's body by transferring it from his Bentley into a rental car. In the early hours of September 29th, after hours of careful monitoring, police moved in. At 3 a.m., they surrounded the men in North Vancouver and arrested them on the spot. Peng's lifeless body was found in the trunk, bound and suffocated. The case shocked both Canada and China. Investigations revealed that Eddie had not acted alone. His accomplices included Casey Hisco, a poker dealer from his illegal gambling operation, along with two young Canadians, Dylan Green and Jacob Gorelick. They were part of a scheme orchestrated by a mysterious man named Jay, who had instructed Eddie to target wealthy Chinese students. Just 3 weeks before Peng's abduction, Eddie had attempted another kidnapping of a currency exchange worker. Though that victim escaped, Eddie was undeterred. This time, he succeeded, but with catastrophic consequences. For Peng's grieving parents, the nightmare was only beginning. They traveled from Beijing to Vancouver to see their son's body. His brother-in-law, upon viewing Peng, described his twisted face, swollen tongue, and purple skin, evidence of his suffering. The autopsy confirmed suffocation. Their only son, who had been their hope and pride, was gone. Their grief was compounded by what happened next: the justice system. Despite the brutality of the crime, Eddie did not stand trial for first-degree murder. In 2017, prosecutors struck a plea bargain. Eddie admitted guilt for manslaughter, unlawful confinement, and extortion, but not murder. Under Canadian law, first-degree murder requires clear intent to kill and evidence of planning to take a life. Authorities argued they could not prove Eddie wanted Peng dead, only that he intended to ransom him. Without that proof, they reduced the charge. For Peng's parents, it was incomprehensible. Their son had been lured, trapped, and killed, yet the man who orchestrated it would face just 14 years in prison. His accomplice, Hisco, received 7 years, and charges against the two younger recruits were dropped. Eddie, only 23 at the time of sentencing, could be free by his late 30s. For Mr. Sun, the outcome was devastating. Already consumed by grief, he fell into depression and was unable to manage his construction business. In time, he declared bankruptcy. The ransom money, 340,000 Canadian dollars, was mostly lost, with only 50,000 recovered. Meanwhile, the identities of some conspirators, including the mastermind Jay, remain unknown. Even Eddie's own background is murky. Rumors persist that his father held a powerful position in Shaanxi's coal industry, but nothing has been confirmed. Eddie's wife, pregnant at the time of the crime, distanced herself after his arrest, denying their marriage online before deleting her social media. Their child was born just 2 weeks after Eddie was jailed. What makes Peng's story particularly tragic is not only the senselessness of his death, but the cruel irony of his choices. He avoided dishonest people, steered clear of gambling, and lived cautiously. He was not reckless or ostentatious despite his wealth. The Bentley he drove, misinterpreted as a symbol of arrogance, was simply a family car his mother had once used. Yet, none of this spared him from becoming a target. He underestimated the depth of Eddie's deceit and cruelty. On the night before his kidnapping, Peng video called his parents to celebrate the Mid-Autumn Festival. They laughed and looked forward to his return to Beijing the following year, when they would be reunited as a family. Less than 24 hours later, their dreams were shattered. The young man they had raised with love and hope was gone, and the future they envisioned with him would never come. The tragedy of Peng Sun is a chilling reminder of how envy, greed, and deceit can destroy lives in an instant. It is also a story of justice that, to many, feels incomplete. For Peng's parents, no sentence could undo the loss of their son. For the wider community, it is a sobering lesson about trust, vulnerability, and the darkness that can lurk behind a friendly smile. This story, retold years later, still stirs outrage and sorrow. A promising life was stolen, not just from a family, but from the world. And though the courts delivered a sentence, the pain for Peng's family endures. A reminder that true justice in cases like this is often impossible. And that's the heartbreaking story of Peng Sun, a young man with a bright future whose life was stolen far too soon. If you found this story informative and thought-provoking, don't forget to hit the like button, share your thoughts in the comments below, and subscribe to the channel for more true crime stories from around the world.